So yeah, I reference this book a lot, Stop Staring. So when I do blend shapes, there's basically a series of fundamental shapes that we need to get almost all lip sync and the broad majority of facial expressions done. These are the sort of foundational blend shapes for the mouth. There's the smile wide, the narrow slash double O, like ooh shape, the upper lip up, upper lip in, up, lower lip down, lower lip in, the frown and the sneer. And we basically start making sure, by making sure, as we did just previously here, to have a default where the lips are closed, the eyes are in their appropriate shape. Um, and yeah, so what I've done is I've actually had to tweak this a little bit. One thing I want to mention too is that I screwed up my topology here. I should have good circular loops that go around the mouth, but something happened in here. I think I had sort of a mistake in my mesh that I should have cleaned up. But and it does kind of create some weird buckling and rippling. So if you ever encounter something like this where you don't have good clean circular loops, and the way to test for me is always just to go to the Z modeler. We can't actually edit this with the layers turned on, but yeah, this should have kind of good circular loops moving inwards, just like we have up here, right, into the open eyelid. So for now, I'm going to work with this as is, but typically I would fix this if I encounter it right away and I'm seeing weird shapes, then I would work on it pretty much immediately. But in this case, I'm okay with this for the demo. So here's the jaw open. So again, default is basically closed, no expression in the eyes, no expression in the mouth. Here's the open. By the way, in this version, I do have texture applied, so sometimes I find that can help you sort of see the mesh a little bit better, you know? So, because sometimes just staring at the kind of white gray mesh isn't always the same as seeing it with its full texture on. But it's not necessary for this assignment to have texture. Just to let you know that it can help in the overall look and appeal and feel of the blend shapes. I'm just going to save this as yeah, version 5. Okay, so I've got my jaw open, and usually the next step, by the way, when we're doing the jaw open, what I love about this book is it actually shows you the area you should mask for the most part and where it should be affected and how. So it does talk about, you know, how to open the jaw, how to manipulate it. I like I said, usually set my pivot point to roughly where the anatomical jaw would move, right, where the pivot point is of the actual jaw, the bone structure underneath. And I still think that way even with cartoony characters, is to sort of imagine there being, you know, anatomical points. Now for the smile wide, this is, again, there's no open lip on the smile. We use additional lip blend shapes to expose the teeth, or we use a combination of the smile and wide. It's the same thing. So the smile and wide is the same muscle contraction. When you want to make an E shape, your mouth tends to go into a partial smile, actually. So it's not just for a more joyous expression, but also for using it in lip sync. So again, what I love about this is it kind of breaks down paragraph by paragraph. What do you include? What moves? What is the width or the depth? So we do want to think about these things, right? So if I go back to the character for the smile, usually when I've done a blend shape, I'll go back and reset some of my other stuff here. So I'm just going to go back to the teeth. Teeth and gums, I will set that back to 0. There we go for the teeth and gums, and I'll go back up to the head. And we'll create a new layer. Again, if it turns dark, we can just turn off colorize, and if you do happen to have a texture, you can simply turn it on to be able to see the texture. Okay, so for this, I'll just rename it Smile. Oops. Come on, you. Smile underscore wide. There we go. So for this, usually I like to imagine, right? One of the nice things about these good clean topology is that you imagine, you know, if you look at these edge loops here, this is like a track for the corners of the mouth to pull up on, right? So if I go to, I'll go with the move. Yeah, let me just double check here. There we go. So the smile is kind of moving usually up and wide. But again, we have to kind of consider the shape here, right? And also the lips tend to thin out because they are moving in this sort of central area up a bit. So they tend to, because they're, imagine like stretch and squash, right? These things will move. up and wide. And I'm going to hold shift and let go just to blend this in a bit. Now, in a cartoony face, you know, we can kind of do this thing where we basically go with damn standard, right? And you can kind of create a sharp crease almost right next to the corner. In a more realistic mouth, this thing tends to happen a bit further out, where you get kind of this like, right? It's part of what's called the nasolabial fold, which is kind of like a crease line that happens from here, right? But again, this tends to be deeper and more expressed in an older face than a younger face. So sometimes I'll kind of carve it in and then just like dial it back a bit. And I'm going to polish a little bit the upper lip, again, because things are pulling a bit tight. And again, I'll turn off, because this can be distracting sometimes. So we want to look at the underlying shape. So I'll often switch to kind of a dark gray material to see if there's any kind of unusual or unappealing, lumpy, creasing, folding areas. And I'm going to hold shift and let go to try to blend this in a little bit better there. And then again, I often test in conjunction with the smile, the wide, the smile here, right? Because they'll usually be used in conjunction. And again, if this is opening a bit, then I'll also switch to teeth and gums and have them open a bit, okay? So again, it might look sometimes a little bit awkward or odd in the open position, but with the texture on it, it may help look a little bit better. Here, I'll just switch these to skin shade 4, there. Okay, so that's not so bad. Again, I could probably push it a little bit more extreme. It's not going that far, and I think the upper lip isn't moving up enough. So I'll go back to record. Use a move brush. I'll pull this, let's just make sure this is moving up a bit. The nose should also, the sides of the nose should also move up. So again, they're not just moving like straight up, okay? What you want to do is kind of move them up and along the sort of angle of the face, right? So again, think of these as like little tracks. So we're not just moving up, but we also maybe want to move a little bit deeper as well. Again, that might be a little extreme. So again, we kind of move them in this direction, right? We're not just going like, you know, we don't want to have like crazy weird deformations that kind of alter the appearance in an extreme way of the face here. So again, I'll just smooth and then move a little bit. Sometimes too, what I'll use as well is if you hit B for brush, S for spiral. Spiral is kind of useful because it turns, right? So if we set the intensity very low, you can actually get a bit more of a curvature in the corner, right? Which can help the sense of that kind of like pulling up more. But again, we don't want to go too extreme. It kind of looks like a creepy Joker smile. But sometimes just a little bit of that. Or snake hook is also good for this because the move brush is... it's a very linear tool, whereas snake hook allows you to kind of like create, right, these sort of waves. So it can be useful to kind of create a non-linear shape. Here, I'll just do a little subtle inflate here just to keep that closed, and then there. And I might create a little bulge here as well, just in the kind of upper inner cheek. So again, we want to think about these areas like muscle contraction. Even in a cartoony character, we're going to have, you know, in a cartoony character, we can also go a little bit more extreme, right? So again, if we're kind of stretching thin somewhere else, we're going to be bulging in another spot, right? Okay, so this is like extreme, right? So, and a lot of times these things work really well at like 10, 20, 30, 60. I usually kind of say, if you can get to like 70% of two blend shapes at the same time, 60, 70%, then you're doing pretty good. And I usually like to see these, like I said, in a fairly neutral way here. Let's take a look at this. I'll have to open the jaw here a bit more. There. Yeah, I'll turn up colorize for now. So I do, yeah, I just want to see, like, you know, does it look good? Or sometimes when we combine these shapes, they may look a little bit odd or awkward. So, Yeah, I'll go back and start working on, I think the smile needs a little bit of polishing because there's some strange shapes here. So again, holding shift and letting go I find is one of the best tools for sort of polishing these shapes because it kind of gets rid of the kind of awkward, unappealing lumpiness that can sort of appear when we combine some of these shapes. And sometimes, you know, it's not the current shape I'm on, but maybe the opening that needs that editing. So I'll go to the other one here. I'll turn down the smile a bit, turn off colorize, and turn on record for the open. So that's going to be at max, and we can just solo this as well, just to maybe focus on the shape here. So yeah, if I maybe smooth the lip a bit. There. So I'm now actually kind of polishing a little bit of the open as well. And then we'll just kind of open this there. So I think I can get both extremes to work fairly well. Again, I find it's very difficult to get two blend shapes at the same time to work at maximum 100%, but if you can get to like 60-70% of one and 60-70% of another, you're typically doing pretty good when it comes to the mouth, right? And again, good to test them in isolation, right? Yeah, I think my 100% smile is a bit too much, but I think it's good if I ever need the extreme, I'll go to that. But I think in most cases I'd hit like 80% and call it good, you know? And don't forget too, like a lot of times when I make adjustments, like rotation, I like to do without perspective on because I know I'm getting a clean rotation angle. But if same thing with eyelids, if I'm rotating eyelids and eyelashes, I like to make sure I'm not in perspective. But as you're editing, you should sculpt with perspective on and do your edits and checks with perspective on because that's how it's going to really appear in your film. Okay. One other thing I should mention too is that sometimes we have this like big awkward gap between I think this is probably in the open, so I'm going to just turn on the record for the open. I want to make sure that the sort of sides of the mouth remain in pretty good contact with the teeth and gums. So I'm going to hold Alt and see if I can kind of pull that in, or even just sometimes smoothing a bit on the interior mouth cavity. And then if we just pull it a bit tighter, it can help avoid maybe there being this sort of awkward stretching effect that can sometimes happen. And I'll also turn on inflates, but again, I don't want to inflate the outside of the mouth. I want to just inflate the inside. So you may want to turn on back face mask for this. And we'll just do a little smoothing in here. So I'm just kind of polishing the opening a bit so we don't have this like kind of awkward looking gap. So same thing here too. Like I would say the teeth, or sorry, the lips here. Again, I should probably turn off the smile actually for a second to see what's happening there. Yeah, it might be in the wide actually. So I'll go back to the wide. Yeah, just kind of pull that in so it's not pulling away from the teeth and gums. And again, we want to maintain the shape inside the mouth too. So yeah, because I find sometimes if there's too big of a gap, it looks awkward. If there's also not enough of a gap, it also looks kind of awkward. It makes things look really, really strange, right? Okay. Just polish a bit of this out. And I often, like I said, I'll often use Move Topological to kind of fix things in these tight areas because oftentimes that will allow me to just grab the lower lip only, the upper lip only, okay? Very, very useful to kind of be able to only grab one lip at a time. And make sure the upper lip is still overhanging the lower lip because I think that's also becoming a little bit of an issue in here. So I'll fix that as well. Okay. And yeah, by the way, if you're smoothing and you find it's smoothing too much, just drop the intensity down and that can help you get a little bit more kind of subtle polishing into the model there. I think that's better. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. Sometimes if you go to the negative of the blend shape, you might get the beginnings of, let's say, a frown. I don't always use it, but sometimes I'll test just to see if I can get it to work. In this case, it's not great, but that's okay. I'll move on. So the next blend shape to look at is the we got the smile, the open. We haven't done the narrow. So the narrow is basically this is, by the way, describing the lip height and the thinness of the lips and how far back. It's sort of going up and back the corners, right? And you can go more cartoony, of course. So you can have this deep crease right next to the corner of the mouth. But in human faces, that if there's a deep crease, it doesn't happen right at the corner, but roughly about 1 centimeter out from the corners of the mouth. This is almost like a pout or like a smoochy kissing face, the narrow. So again, it's meant to allow the face to do kind of the O shape when the jaw is open. So I'm going to create a new shape here called the narrow. Sorry, narrow. Come on, text. Narrow underscore OO. And oops, no. Sorry, make sure I'm creating a new one first. There we go. Narrow underscore OO. Again, I'll turn off maybe the texture for now. So yeah, basically the way this works, I'm going to just maybe mask the area. Sometimes it's easier just to mask. I'll go the just a brush. Oops. Mask pen. There we go. So it's really just this area of effect, okay? So yeah, I basically just use the move brush. We're moving things kind of forward and out, right? And again, if you've got good masking, you can actually just grab a lip. Usually there's a little bit of rotation in the lip, so I'm going to actually kind of position to roughly the corner. Again, make sure you turn off perspective when you're doing an edit like this. Hold Alt, reset the pivot, and then we can kind of rotate out from the corner roughly, right, to get this like subtle pout. Control click here and do the same thing. Alt click back, reset your pivot, and then pull it back a bit. And then I'll just do a little inflate here. Oops. Again, I'll turn off the wireframe here for a second. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to pull the center part out just a little bit more. Ooh. It might be too extreme, but I'll see. So let's pull it back here and see. Smooch, smooch, smooch. There you go. See with texture on, not too bad, right? Then if we combine with the open, we want this to be able to kind of combine here. So let me double check. I think, did I mess up my open? I think my opening is looking a little bit awkward actually. Yeah. So I'm going to go back here and fix that. I must have done something. Yeah, I'll just smooth this out. Basically hold shift and smooth, because we should have almost an oval shape anyways when the mouth is open. There. I think that fixes that problem. Again, it's always good to see without texture. If you do have texture on, just turn it off. So now we get, right? No. Now we can combine these two, right, to sort of get this expression. No. So again, I want to sort of test them out. Like I said, I'm having issues here. This is why I suggest you have good, clean circular loops around the mouth. If you don't, you may get some kind of weird buckling shape here or kind of waviness to the shape, which I'm not particularly happy with. But I'm going to just see if I can polish it out in this, between the two shapes. I'm holding shift and letting go, right? Because that keeps the shape while also smoothing out it keeps the volume while smoothing out the shape at the same time. So it's, for me, one of the best, most useful tools for blend shapes that I've found. And I may just do an inflate on the inside here. So I'll, woo, too much. There we go. So, because I don't want the lips to kind of totally thin out, so I'm going to inflate on the inside. This is where back face mask is also useful, right? So we can there, get the two to work nicely together. All right, so we can get this really cool, expressive shape. Again, I may not use the full narrow because I think it's a little extreme, but up to about 60-70%, it's working pretty good. Yeah, I may just do a subtle blend here. So again, shift, let go. Having a weird issue with my ZBrush right now, but I'll just fix that a bit there. And yeah, I'll just inflate on the inside a bit more, I think. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay. So yeah, a lot of times we're kind of massaging and going back and forth between two shapes. And the way I've ordered this, or the way the book has also ordered things, is that usually the hardest shapes are the first shapes, and it gets progressively easier and faster as you go, because they're a little bit easier to manage, a little bit easier to produce. So that's basically the narrow. Yeah, and then we've got the upper lip up. Let me just check my list here. Narrow, upper lip up. So that's basically like this kind of semi-sneer. We do have the nose portion of the sneer, which is separate, but that's why it's called the upper lip up. So we'll just make sure these are set to 0, create a new shape. Up, lip, up. And essentially, so again, I find it easy to just sort of quickly mask areas. So we can essentially just hide kind of all this stuff except for the upper lip here. So I'll mask this, flip it around, right? And then we can, if you also just control click on this once or twice, you get a nice soft blurred border. Again, if we look back at the book, right, this is our area of inclusion. So it does kind of dip below the sort of midpoint of the lips. And again, if we're looking kind of from a side view, we're going up, and the nose, the lower part of the nose is activated as well. So I'll go to move. And if you want, you can try a larger move brush, which can kind of help you get more of this. Oh, what's going on here? I think some weird issues with my brushes. So I'm going to just go to the brush palette and say reset all brushes. If you find things are not working the way they should, sometimes you'll have to do reset all brushes. There we go. I'm still getting a weird kind of like, it almost seems like there's masking in here. Just make sure there's no masking. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Okay, let's see. I'll go in, I'll pull this up, and we're, the lip kind of has to come out a bit too. I think the teeth and gums are a bit too low, so I'm going to adjust that in a minute here. It's kind of looking a bit awkward. Yeah, sometimes that'll happen. You'll sort of make an adjustment and sort of realize like, hey, this is not looking quite right. Okay, let's take a look. Go back to record for a second. Usually I like this shape to be a bit more sort of squared. So what I mean by that is that we're kind of also coming right up, and I'll go to move topological. If I'm unmasking, I'll go to move topological. So the corners also kind of come up quite a bit, and so does the nostril here. I'll do sort of shift and release, and then sculpt a bit here. Something in here. Maybe a little bit more in the middle. A little bit of polish goes a long way. A bit of smoothing in the corners. There we go. Because yeah, I had this kind of awkward, again, it's this topology that's kind of screwing me up. But if I hold shift here, I can kind of, just holding shift and regular smoothing, that does help that area quite a bit. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's see what's, I do worry the nose is collapsing a lot, or it's really like shrinking. So I'll show you a trick to this. If you want to fix or kind of balance between a shape you've made and the original shape, you can go set everything to 0 on your layers. Go into Morph Target. Say, if you have one there, delete it, and then say Store Morph. We'll go back to record mode on this blend shape. And if you hit B for brush, M for morph, and then G is the shortcut chain. There we go, morph. Right. One of the useful things about this is that, let's say we set this intensity lower to like 7, 8, something like that, 10 in this case. I can kind of like dial back in. Oops, it's a little awkward with this here. Yeah, if I go in, I can kind of dial back in the nose shape of it, or the nose volume, and try not to lose it too much. And I'll just do a little bit of smoothing in here just to blend this area a bit better. So now I feel like I'm not losing as much of that nose volume. You know, it's not flattening the nose so much, right? So that's upper lip up. And sometimes I will just try, again, the negative. It's, in this case, it's kind of going like down and forward, which it shouldn't do. And I'll show you how to do the lower lip. So the upper lip low, or upper lip down. Up, lip, DN for down. Okay, so again, my preference is to, here, let's Control Shift click, and I might just go Control Shift X to expand the visibility, and then I'll mask it. Okay, and then here, let's go to Skin Shade 4. Yeah, we can actually hide the lower sort of jaw, and we'll go to transparency as well. So basically, what you want to have happen, again, I'll turn off perspective for a second. I'm going to hold Alt and reset the angle. I'm going to move this up here. I also want to make sure I'm masking most of the back area here. So what I'm going to do is just try to like rotate this. Oops, I should also make sure. Maybe I'll just hide this off too. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to try to rotate this. Yeah, it's a little too stretched. So let me just blur this mask a bit and see. Control click one more time, and then yeah, let me just so I'm gonna kind of rotate this down and then pull it kind of like under. It's almost like it's pulling down and going under the teeth. Okay, so if you take a look at that, right, you see that sort of shape happening. Again, I'll probably have to do some smoothing here. So Shift, let go. Yeah, if this is pulling off, I'm just going to use, again, Move Topological just to pull that corner back and up. There we go. Hold Shift, let go, and then make your stroke, and that kind of smooths that area out nicely. I think I still want to kind of pull this down and in more, so I'm going to just hide this stuff here. And by the way, if you click on this, you can just sort of hide based on polygroups, right? That other set of teeth, so we can sort of imagine it pulling. Right, the lip pulling. Oops, make sure I'm on the right tool. There we go. I'm going to pulling in here. Right, so the lip is actually coming under, and you see it's kind of going through this lip. So I'll just hold Alt, which pulls in the direction with the move brush. There. That's a really good upper lip in. Okay. So now let's. I'll just turn on the texture so I can see it a little bit better. Again, if you don't have a texture map, it's fine. You can also, if you have colorize, sometimes colorize will bring back the color. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So again, we want to test maybe with the mouth open, right? So we can get this kind of shape. Okay, I think that's good. Upper lip down, upper lip up is done. So that's those two. Then it's lower lip down, lower lip up. So again, I'll try if the inverse, yeah, up, upper lip down in reverse is just inflating it in a bad direction. So I'll turn it off. I'll go create a new one and immediately rename it low lip up. So it's basically the same thing, but on the lower lip. So again, I'll maybe just isolate for a second. Oops. Control Shift click, Control click to mask, flip that around, flip this around. And my masking is being a bit weird. There, okay. And I'll turn off the texture here. So again, if I kind of control click, sorry, I should inverse the mask by control clicking off the model and then control click on the model a couple of times. And this should give you like fairly good fast results. So you want to be, again, with perspective off, pivot, recentered, and then there we go, right? So we see that kind of moving in. We're seeing the inner mouth cavity here warp, which is okay. I don't necessarily mind that. And I'll show you how to fix that in a second. I'm going to go to transparency just to see. Yeah, let me turn on the lower jaw here, all of the lower jaw. Yeah, I feel like it's sitting a bit high now, but it's okay. I'll come back here. And so yeah, if you wanted to, you can sort of isolate just the mouth cavity and sort of smooth it back a bit. That can help just fine, okay? And again, I'll do a little bit of polishing. Let's go back here, hold shift, let go, and then it sort of blends nicely. It kind of almost feels like it pulls tension into that area. Right, so it should pull tighter, get a little thinner. And now if you do, here, let's go with blend for now. Right, if you do upper lip up and lower lip down, these should work together fairly well. I'm going to just double check. I think it's this lower lip here that needs a little bit of smoothing and correcting in the corners. So I'll either, here, let me just hide this for now, or set it to 0. Let's see, which one is moving the corners? That one seems fine, actually. It might be the upper lip down is going too far back. So I'll go back into record mode, turn off colorize, and then I can, I think I still have my morph active, so I might just morph the corner back a bit more and then just try to shift and let go and polish a bit there. It's a little bit awkward, but... I'll try to mix the two. Yeah, it's not so bad. I'll see, like I said, sometimes if we go kind of 60-60, it's not so terrible. Okay. Yeah, I think I still need a bit of kind of polishing on this thing. It's there. So I'm going to leave the lower lip up on just so I can sort of see what's happening and then try to polish this issue out. So yeah, just use the move brush there. That seems to work better, I think, for that shape now. For the two shapes combined. There, that's very good. Okay. And then we want to go back and see, because I was polishing the upper lip down. It should work on its own fairly well. Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, and then lower lip down. So again, I'll try the lower lip up in reverse. It's actually not too bad, but the lip is getting way too big. Again, it's not that hard to create that shape with the selections if you've got decent polygroups. So low lip DN for down. I'll pretty much just isolate that, mask it. Again, my masking is weird. I think it might have been because I started with the masking on, but yeah, let's do that. Flip the mask around, control click a couple times on the model. We're still in the corner here. We'll kind of pull down, forward. Okay, if there's weird issues here, again, try to shift, let go. Or yeah, let's just polish that a little bit. Sometimes too, I'll actually remask the corners a little bit more and then blur, so you get a much more softer blend. There. Let's see. I think I've moved the teeth a bit too high. I'll just nudge them down a bit more. And yeah, I'll use the move brush here and pull this middle part down a little bit more. Oops. Am I in the teeth? Okay, there we go. All right, let's pull that down a bit. Okay, let's check this out. And what's it? Upper lip up. Yeah, sometimes we can kind of get a real like aggressive look, right? Showing the teeth. Yeah. So again, those things can work in conjunction very well. Yeah, I should probably have the teeth down a bit more. I think they're still a bit high. There. So the teeth, the lips look like they curl properly over the, the shape there. Okay, oops. Back to 0, 0. Okay. And I'll just test one more time with the upper lip up and the lower lip down, right? I think it works pretty good in conjunction. Okay, that's good. And then the frown. So it's similar to the smile. We don't just pull. Okay, I'll just show you this from a side view. Create a new layer, frown. Okay. It doesn't just go straight down. Okay. Yeah, right. We're not just kind of pulling down. It's sort of down and back. Okay. We'll take a slightly less larger brush. Again, the lips kind of come down a bit too. The sides of the nostril come down a bit. And we do go a little bit wider as well. So for the wideness, I usually like to do this from a bottom angle because if we're just pulling back, we kind of lose the shape of the face. It's actually back in a diagonal fashion. Okay. And like I said, if you want to add a little accentuation or a little bit more of a curve in the corner, you can either use Snake Hook, which is a little bit more kind of wavy, or it allows you to get a little bit more curvature in, or you can use the, what's it called? The spiral brush, right? B for brush, S for spiral, and J. And then again, if if it's turning in the wrong direction, you can hold Alt, it'll go the opposite direction, and go with a very, very low intensity to get this kind of curvature, which can be useful or helpful, right? Really kind of pushes it. And again, you can have kind of the inverse of the smile where we get kind of a crease line, a lower crease line, but again, that'll typically be in more old characters. But yeah, the edges pull down quite a bit. It's the center that doesn't move as much. So, and yeah, for that crease line, again, if you've got good circular loops, this can work. So, right here, there. Okay, and then if we maybe hold Shift, let go, we can kind of just make it a little bit more subtle. Okay, so again, if we open the mouth here, I think we've gone quite extreme. So yeah, so open the teeth a bit more too, of course. Yeah, it's not quite as nice as I'd like it, so I'm gonna just do a little bit more of this kind of shift, let go to sort of blend the area in a little better. Okay. Yeah, I'm going quite extreme at 100%, but I think like 50, 60% works well. Okay, and that is basically the mouth. Next, we'll work on the eyes.